In 2013, a new synth-pop group called Chvrches came onto the electronic music scene from Scotland with their debut album, The Bones of What You Believe. Their synth-driven songs were tight and highly polished, but also felt genuine and highly danceable. They quickly became a hit across Europe and North America, so people were of course excited when they announced a second album this year, titled Every Open Eye. But some people still wondered, would it be able to live up to the first album's string of great tunes? Well, the album is out now, so it's time to find out. So, here we have Every Open Eye, which was released at the end of September. As I said, this is Chvrches' second album, and given how consistently great their first album was, this one has a fair bit to live up to. And I can understand why people who like the band might be a bit worried about that. Over the years, there have been more bands than you can count that have released a really successful first album, but couldn't keep the momentum going when they released their second album and ended up disappointing their fans. This kind of thing has been called the sophomore slump, and it's something that artists of every stripe, not just musicians, worry about. Well, fortunately for Chvrches, I can confidently say Every Open Eye is not a sophomore slump album. Lauren Mayberry, Ian Cook, and Martin Doherty have created a vibrant, creative, and constantly catchy record that can keep you interested all the way through. It's a common pitfall for new bands to try and repeat what they did on their first album on their second release, but this trio avoided doing that very well. And they released the album in a pretty nice package as well. As you can see, I've got the 180-gram vinyl release of the album here, which came out just shortly after the digital version hit stores. I suppose I could have got the CD or digital release of this, but the record actually wasn't very expensive, and frankly playing an album like this on a turntable lets me feel like a DJ. The cover is pretty different from The Bones of What You Believe. That album cover was sharp and boldly colored, where this one is softer and less aggressive, which I suppose could reflect a change of theme on the record. Interesting use of roses and abstract blocks here. The record comes in a gatefold sleeve, which I didn't expect. Here we have a nice big shot of the group on the inside. Lauren Mayberry looks like she's dressed for Mardi Gras for some reason. It's a nice package. Not over-designed, but there may be an issue with the way it was packaged and shipped. I ordered this off Amazon, and it came in one of those stress-free packaging cardboard boxes, which are great in that they're really easy to open and don't waste a ton of filler. But on the other hand, there isn't all that much to protect this stuff inside from being bent in the mail. I think that's what caused this little crease here at the side to happen. It's not a big deal and doesn't affect anything though, but it just seems like the packaging didn't protect the item as well as it could have. Now, as for the record itself, it is pressed on 180-gram white vinyl. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't get a lot of colored records, so it always feels special when I do get one. Actually, this one may not be that special. After I bought this, I found out there was a special limited edition release that was pressed on semi-clear vinyl, so it looks like once again I still missed out on the big ticket item. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This record here is very nice looking and solid. It doesn't have any noticeable marks, and it plays very well. Now, some people say that colored vinyl has more surface noise, and after playing this, I can say that it is kind of true here. The record does seem to have a bit of crackling to it, but strangely enough, this only happens in the silent space between tracks. Once the music starts again, the noise seems to go away. The sound quality is really clean and well mastered. Each song sounds really full and alive. Since it was mastered by none other than Bob Ludwig himself, I guess that's to be expected. There are a couple of moments on the song High Enough to Carry You Over, though, where Martin Doherty's voice has some sibilance on the S's. It sounds like the levels were set too high, but it's not too intrusive and only happens a couple of times. Otherwise, it's pretty darn good. It really captures Chvrches' polished, tight sound well. I like it, and I like the minimal label design here too. As for the music itself, Every Open Eye's tone and atmosphere are a departure from the bones of what you believe, but the album still has the band's distinct style throughout. The Bones of What You Believe felt very much like a breakup album. Many of the songs used imagery of deception and betrayal, and Lauren's lyrics often focused on standing up and putting an end to it all. It might have been a hook-driven dance album, but it was still a dark ride through a troubled relationship. On the other hand, Every Open Eye feels like it takes place sometime after Bones and has a noticeably more hopeful feeling. The songs on here have a running theme of rising above a challenge and moving forward from the past. As a matter of fact, the opening song Never Ending Circle seems to directly break away from Chvrches' previous album in its opening lines. So right from the start, we hear Lauren Mayberry referencing the last album's title and the name of one of its key singles, Lies, telling us all of that's over now. And for the most part, the album makes good on that promise. Not only does Never Ending Circles sound more confident and optimistic about the future, this feeling carries over onto several other tracks. Clearest Blue and High Enough to Carry You Over both talk about trusting someone else, whether it's asking them to meet me more than halfway or being there to carry someone over the bad times. Make Them Gold is also about commitment and staying with someone in the fray, combining skills and working together. But I think the most striking change in attitude is on the fantastic song Empty Threat, which deals with making up with someone and saying you were better off when they were on your side. This couldn't be more different from the vengeful lyrics of songs like Gun or We Sink from the last album. Does this mean that those songs were an empty threat? Downside of Me is more sober and talks about the pressure of overcoming personal problems, but the chorus stays very hopeful. Lauren sings here about still believing and keeping confidence in herself. It's actually this kind of balance between hopefulness and dealing with challenges that grounds the album and keeps it true to the band's style. As much positivity as there is on this record, there are still darker things to be dealt with. Songs like Leave a Trace, which was the first single released for the album, show that the problems of Chvrches' first album still linger on, even if this song seems more confident than before. Mayberry says repeatedly that you got it wrong when singing about what others have assumed about her or tried to do. But her performance still has a hint of vulnerability in it, especially when she insists that someone tell it just as it was, and that they leave a trace of a man. There seems to be a fear here that moving on from the past will lead to emptiness or a loss of relationships, even if moving on is what needs to be done. The imagery of leaving a trace becomes a recurring theme on Every Open Eye, acting as a counterpart to the album's hopefulness for new chances. Many songs here emphasize that for better or worse, traces of our past still influence the way we live now. Keep You on My Side deals with amending relationships and having to stay confident in the face of consequences from the past. Lines like Paying Back What We Take from the chorus seem to say that even though the conflict of the first album may be over, having to repair the problems it caused can make lingering strains. Even on some overly positive songs like High Enough to Carry You Over, there are still traces of regret for things that didn't quite work out, like in the line, I never would have given you up if you only hadn't given me up. This idea of having to face the regrets and problems of the past comes up even more strongly on later tracks like Playing Dead and Bury It, which both deal with confronting conflicts that had been avoided for a while. The two songs seem to build on each other. On Playing Dead, Lauren Mayberry challenges her opponent to try and take ground from her, saying she won't go. On Bury It, she is determined to put things behind her and rise above the deceit that has been done to her. The subject here is very similar to the themes on Bones of What You Believe, but again there's a hopefulness here that wasn't as strong on the previous album. This shows that even though the conflict in these songs may be similar, we are not in the same place as before. However, just because things have changed doesn't mean that they're always easy. The album finishes with the sober, almost ballad-like song Afterglow, which reflects back on everything that has happened, the black and the white, the highs and the lows, and everything in between. After asserting her strength throughout the album, Lauren sounds like she's now remembering the hurts of the past that linger on. This song seems like a fitting combination of the two themes on the album. It looks toward the future, but still feels the effects of what has gone before. There's even a gloomy verse about things returning again and again, but even though this gives a sense of struggle to the song, there's also a strong feeling of resolution, as if now that Mayberry has given up all she can, there is nowhere to go but up. So the album's last section drives home the theme that even though the future is uncertain and will likely involve more struggles, there is still hope and opportunity if we're ready to claim it. All in all, after listening to Every Open Eye several times now, I feel like it's a fresh, creative album that has something to say about modern life. Chvrches have taken their music to a place that's familiar but different from their last album. It's a move forward from the themes of their previous work that pays off well. What you're left with is a rare album that manages to be very accessible to pop music fans, yet also includes nuanced ideas that come through when you play it repeatedly. If you're into electronic and dance music, I would definitely recommend it.